What's going on, guys? This is Mikeinoid, and today we're going to be looking at the condition of my Nintendo Switch. Now, I've heard so many horror stories about the Switch, mainly that the Joy-Cons drift like crazy, but I've also heard about the dock scratching your screen. I've heard the vents are starting to crack up, and even the USB-C port just not working anymore. It seems as the Nintendo Switch is one of Nintendo's more fragile systems, which is kind of not good for a system to break so easily. I mean, it's important for a company to develop a system that can take all sorts of kind of abuses, such as this, and this. Especially for a company like Nintendo, who's known for making some quality systems. It seemed kind of off that the Nintendo Switch can't really handle some of the abuses it takes. But despite all of that, I managed to keep my Nintendo Switch intact and still functional today. Now, I bought the original gray Joy-Con Switch near the time that it actually came out. I actually got this bundled up with the physical copy of The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, alongside with some codes such as the DLC for Breath of the Wild, Shovel Knight, Fast RMX, and Snipper Clips. And looking back at it, it seemed like a pretty good bundle. I mean, you get one of the greatest games of all time, you get one of the best indie games of all time, and you get Fast RMX and Snipper Clips. And here we are 3 years later, and I've gotta say, I think I did a pretty good job of keeping this system in pretty good shape. So let's go ahead and take a look at it. Now, as you can see here, it looks a little bit off from the original gray Joy-Con Switch. Now, let's start off with the left Joy-Con. I actually did replace it with the Hori Joy-Con. One reason that being is that it started drifting like crazy, and I didn't want to pay for a whole $80 Joy-Con and just for it to happen again, you know? So for 20 bucks, I went ahead and picked up the Hori Joy-Con. As you can see, this is the Mario edition. And what I like about it is that it has the D-pad instead of the 4 directional buttons that the left Joy-Con has, and this has been working pretty good, honestly. The Joy-Con can only be used attached to the Switch, which, I mean, it's not really a big deal. I mean, whenever I take it out of the dock, I always just play it in handheld. I never use a kickstand or anything. Which brings us to the next point, is that the kickstand still works. It's still intact. I haven't lost it yet. I mean, I guess one of the reasons why is because, you know, like I said, I probably used it a few times, but I just don't use it as often. Now, as for the screen looks pretty good, but there's some minor scratches on it, and they're mainly on the sides of the screen. And that's actually probably from the dock. The dock is actually known for scratching the Switch's screen. Now, luckily for me, I've had this screen protector on ever since I got the Switch, pretty much. I think it's just a generic screen protector. It came with the case I got, but hey, it still looks pretty good. There's no reason for me to take it off, and I mean, it's doing its job. So once again, the screen looks pretty good, and as you can see, I did put a skin on this Joy-Con, and I also put it on the back of my Nintendo Switch. This is the Fire Emblem Three Houses Black Eagles one, and the main reason why I put this skin on my Switch, besides it looking really badass, but my Switch look a little bit greasy. Like, you can see on the side with the volume buttons and the game card slot, and even on the back where the USB-C connector is, it just looks a little bit greasy. So imagine that, but much larger on the back of my Switch. I have no idea how it gets like that. I think it's just over time, you know, your hands just kind of like just wear out the Switch, and then you get some grease spots on it. I mean, it's not from food, all right? Don't get me wrong. I haven't ate no McDonald's on this thing, all right? But it's just over time, you know, when you use a handheld, you notice that it gets these little grease spots on it. So putting a skin on it, I think in my opinion, it looks a lot better than it would have looked without it. I know people want to keep their systems looking you know, the way they came, but I feel like having a skin on it looks a lot better than having some grease spots on it. Now, as for the vents on the Switch, it looks like it's in pretty good condition. There's just a little crack on the side there of the vents, but other than that, I feel like they look pretty good. I had no idea what could have caused that, but it doesn't hurt my Switch anyway. And as you can see from my USB-C connector, it also looks okay. And also, my Switch hasn't morphed so it's still pretty straight for the most part, unless I'm just blind and I just can't see it. But I'm pretty sure that this is a straight switch and hasn't experienced any bending whatsoever. Yeah, so that's the condition of my Switch. So what are some ways that you should keep your Switch in good condition? Some methods I already mentioned. One, of course, you need to have a screen protector. If you don't, then you're just gonna mess up your whole Switch, especially also since it's touchscreen as well. You want to do your best of keeping that screen intact. Another way is putting something over the Switch. Like for me, I just went ahead and put a skin over just to hide some of the messy parts of it. And I also forgot to mention, I bought these little, I guess, grips that you can put on your Joy-Cons. I mean, these are good, especially for making the Joy-Cons a lot more comfortable in the hand. However, over time, the lining in the grips would kind of stain the Joy-Cons, so it just make your Joy-Cons look more dirty than they already are. So something I haven't mentioned yet is, of course, you need to have a case when you take it out of your house. Even if you put it in your bag or something, you still need to put it in a case or something. Now, I don't know the name of this case I'm showing on the screen right now, but I mean, this is what I've had for 3 years. I like it. It's simple. It protects the Switch, you know, especially when it's in the bag. I know people want to have those hard shell cases, but I feel like that's a little bit excessive. This case has a wrist strap, so even if I drop it, I won't drop it because it's attached to the wrist. Honestly, any case will do, but I prefer to have a soft material kind of case. If you're going to have one of the older model Switches like I have, battery life probably isn't going to be that great. The battery life on my Switch hasn't really worn out. I've noticed pretty much the same battery life since 3 years ago, so I'm glad that's still doing pretty good. But obviously, keeping it in the dock most of the time will prevent your Switch from getting any scratches or anything. I mostly use this Switch docked anyways, so that's probably another reason why that my Switch hasn't got a lot of wear and tear. I mainly use my Switch Lite for portability, but I mean, since I can't transfer Animal Crossing over to my Switch Lite, I've been taking this everywhere with me recently. But if you're going to be taking your Switch in and out of the dock, I would recommend something put over your dock so it won't scratch up the screens. But that's also what the screen protector is meant for. So that's going to be it from me today. If you have any questions on how to take care of your Switch properly, if you have any questions about the condition of my Switch that I didn't really mention in the video, let me know in the comments. I'll make sure I answer every single one. I just want to thank you guys for watching, and of course, I will see you guys in the next one. Take care. I swear, how do people bend these Switches? I just don't understand.
You're rolling deep into your underground grip. Though the center prior notice caught for you. We wanna make this party you don't wanna skip. Gonna be a show to remember.